Let it go down easy. Warm and smooth or something. All right, I think we're ready to go. I'll start us off, do a little intro, and off we go. It begins in 3, 2, 1.
I have
Current Geek!
Current Geek!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Current Geek. This is Current Geek, the weekly proceedings of the meetings of the Frog Pants All-Stars, geeks of the world and you, to keep you current on all things that matter most. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Tom Merritt.
Well, hello, Scott Johnson. We meet again.
Yes, funny we should meet here, of all places.
Finally, I have plotted our demise.
Over the internet, once again.
Yes.
It's good to be here. We got, I feel like it's been too long since our last show, and like you always say, each and every week, I feel like this is a great way to kind of cap things off, isn't it?
Yeah, I always know, like, this is the best part of the weekend, that we're capping off the week, finish it in style. So I'm really happy to do Current Geek.
Me too. I'm always happy to bring in guests.
We're not even on the show.
I know you do. I've heard this about you. You're a little bit schizophrenic that way. Hey, we have a guest for the show, everybody. I'm so excited to welcome to the show from brickstuds.com, a Lego expert of sorts. His name is Brandon Griffith, and he's here now. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on, man.
You might know Brandon Griffith's The Empire Strikes Back chess set, or perhaps the Return of the Jedi chess set.
Whoa.
Or maybe the New Hope chess set.
What?
Or perhaps the New Hope chess set.
Wow. Not going to do
goes on.
No prequels,
No
though,
prequels.
right? No
No,
prequels.
hell no, no
All
prequels,
right.
no.
Where would we put, now let's just say you were doing a prequel. Where do you put Jar Jar Binks on the chessboard?
Oh, man. He's got to be pawns, right? Because pawns just get killed off. He's got to be with other Gungans on the pawns. He doesn't even get, he doesn't get
like
a back
that.
row.
Just
seat.
all the pawns are Gungans. You don't even know which one's Jar Jar.
Yeah, there you go. Gungans, episode 1 only.
Yeah.
The other 2.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody's like just doing drastic pawn sacrifices in all of their chess games. Just to keep up.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, it's good to have you on. We got some cool Lego stuff in the stories today, and we'll get to all those in a minute, but we'll start with the top stuff.
Herbert Hoover, Secretary of Commerce in 1922, finds infant radio facilitates news gathering, as do many others in high public office.
Tom, take it away.
Misa, no, I'm not going to.
Oh.
Diva Singe wanted to make sure we didn't miss the fact that the Amazon-approved Man in the High Castle full season will happen. The pilot was the most watched since the Amazon pilot program began in April 2013.
So what do you I know you've been a big proponent, and in fact, you and Schwood on Cord Killers have long sung its praises. I still haven't seen it. What scares me is it has I know. I look this week.
Watched pilot and Amazon pilot history going back to the days of 2013, and you still haven't watched it?
Well, the way I've told you this problem that I have, and I know this has come up before, but I have this problem where because all of this new direct to streaming original content stuff sits in the cloud waiting for me to come there, and there's no like timer on it. It's like, this is ours, we made it, we approve it, whatever. It's hard for me to like get off my butt and go see it because I just know it's going to be there for me. And I do this. I haven't seen a single House of Cards episode, not because I don't want to, not because I'm sure it's not great. I just haven't gotten around to it because I know it's always going to be there for me.
I had no idea that you hadn't watched a single House of Cards episode.
Yeah, crazy, right? So I'll get on it. I'll get there eventually.
That information.
But this is totally in my wheelhouse, and I don't know what's taking me so long. So I've decided to remedy this. I'm going to see this pilot this weekend, and now that I know it's been picked up for a full season, that's pretty exciting. Also, does it or does it not, in your estimation, Tom, herald in the potential of sci-fi in our new Brave streaming original content world?
It could,
Yeah.
right? Let's see how it does in the actual, pilot time. If it does as well as Transparent, then yeah, I hope this gives Netflix and Hulu and other folks some ideas.
What do you think, Brandon? Interesting stuff. Have you seen the pilot?
I have not, regrettably, but I am a huge, Phil K. Dick fan. I'm all about more Phil K. Dick, so
Yeah,
I'm excited for
his
it, man.
titles are always so freaking weird. It's like,
Yeah, that's what's great about it.
like you didn't even have to
one
tell
thing.
me. Like someone didn't even have to inform me. They went, "Oh, did you hear about this new sci-fi show on Amazon?" It's like, what's it called? Man in the High Castle. Oh, Philip
What's so
K.
weird about
Dick.
Clans of the Alphane Moon? I don't
Yeah, that's not weird.
counterclock world.
It's not weird at all. Electric
The man
Sheep
who
and the whatnot.
japed.
Yeah. All of it. You
Sort
know,
of odd titles.
I'll just say there's a reason in the more obscure times that they changed it to Blade Runner. That's all I'm
The
saying.
Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch isn't going to sell to the kids.
I guess Minority Report, that name stayed, didn't
Yeah,
it?
that was a short story.
Yeah. And he didn't change the title. They didn't change the title to make
They're
the
like,
movie.
oh, finally a 2-word title. We can work with that.
Yeah.
Let's just hope it's not. What was the Nick Cage next?
Oh, was that a Philip K. Dick deal?
That was based off one of his books.
Oh,
Wasn't
I
it?
didn't know that. That's crazy. That was a terrible movie. It was very
Jump, or was it next?
Oh,
Next, yeah, it's next.
Next, yeah. That's ringing a bell for me.
Yeah.
Scanner Darkly, that to me was the moment where I went, okay, now Hollywood's going to go ahead and accept Philip K. Dick for what he was, and just use the damn title, and the weird stuff stays, and we don't have to sanitize it too much. So
The next was based on the book The Golden Man. Not one of my favorites anyway. But really, you couldn't call it The Golden Man? I mean, A Scanner Darkly, they kept the name.
Yeah.
The Golden Cage, they should have called it.
The Golden Cage. He was far from golden, sadly. No disrespect to Nicolas Cage.
You know.
But yeah, well, and Mad Dogs got picked up. New Yorker Presents got picked up. A couple kid shows, Just Add Magic, and the Stinky and Dirty Show.
Mad Dogs also appeals to me just on the surface. Again, I haven't seen it.
It was
but
good.
Yeah, it looks good.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I'd hate it, but I was ready to love Man in the High Castle. Mad Dogs, I was like, okay, show me what you got. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
And these shows, do they or do they not represent standard? It's the standard pilot procedure. These may have ended up in other places, perhaps, and didn't for whatever reason. So Amazon culled it and said, all right, well, we're going to,
It's a good question. It's a weird thing they're doing here. I mean, usually a pilot is made and they might test it with focus groups. They might put it on air and see how it does. Or the suits might just look at it and say, okay, yeah, that's good enough. We'll pick up the whole series. In this case, the focus group is replaced by playing it to the Amazon Prime subscribers and others. You don't have to be a Prime subscriber to watch the pilots, gathering that feedback. But that feedback doesn't determine whether it gets picked up or not. It just informs the decision. From what I can tell.
I just think it'd be interesting to see if Netflix and others would try a pilot program. And it to me, it doesn't seem like Amazon ponied up all the money to make all these pilots. That seems clear, because why would they?
Yeah, they did.
But they at the very least they ponied up to have them aired, right? Like they didn't necessarily go.
As I understand it, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong. They commission the pilots and they say, we'll give you this much budget, make a pilot, see how it goes.
Well, see, in that case, and if it's that
And that's
broad,
typical.
and
That's
that's
the way it usually is.
and that's a pretty broad swath of content. So I don't see any reason why Netflix couldn't employ a similar way of getting us to help pick what's next. That's cool.
I think the Netflix theory is we look at our vast banks of data and that's good enough. We don't need to pilot it because we know this show will appeal to this table of data in our user banks. And Amazon could do the same thing. So I'm not sure why they don't.
I mean, to me, the only other thing could be like, okay, so let's say Brandon watches Mad Dogs and just absolutely loves it. And so it turns out he is typical of a big swath of the demographic. So now they pick that one up and approve it. Then under the Netflix model, it's more like, well, we're going to make you what we know you want because you're already watching these kinds of things. So we're going to make a thing that fits within the things you watch, which makes sense to me. The missing part is whether or not Brandon thinks it's any good or not before you go through the trouble of making 20 episodes. And that's the only missing link. So I don't know. I don't know which is the better way or the less risky way or the way that makes the most sense. Or maybe this is just Amazon's way of marketing it better because now we're all involved. Hey, we get our our Prime users involved. And maybe that's where this pays off for them. It's just such a weird, brave new space. And I love watching every little thing that happens in it.
I mean, I prefer the Netflix model over the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
If I see it and I love it, I'm going to want to watch the whole thing. And then I can't, I got to wait for them to kind of pick this up, which is
good point. Right. Now they have to go back
downside.
they got to go back and make the damn thing, don't they?
I guess it would keep me subscribed. Well, you pay for Amazon for a whole year, but I guess it would keep you subscribed until they, came out with more.
Yeah.
I think that's what's actually going on is Netflix doesn't have to worry about customer acquisition as much right now. Amazon is using this as a customer acquisition tool. Like, hey, look what we've got. We've got all these crazy things we're trying. We're listening to you, unlike Netflix. And then when they greenlight the one that you tried and liked, then you feel invested and you'll want to pay for Prime to get it. And so they're using that to draw you in. And I I was just thinking about this. They run ads before the pilots.
Yeah, that's
and that
true.
defrays the cost a bit. As far, I'm sure it doesn't pay for it, but that defrays the cost a bit, so they can afford to take a few more chances.
Yeah, I forgot about those. I forgot when that showed at the front of something I watched, I went, "What? I thought there were no ads, and I couldn't remember."
Well, yeah, and I remember going like, "What? Am I not logged in?"
Yeah. Weird. Well, anyway, good luck to them because we benefit, I suppose. And I like Prime. I like Netflix. I don't like Hulu.
I like our subreddit, currentgeek.reddit.com. Because that's where people tell us what we should talk about on Current Geek. Deba Singe is doing a good job submitting the stories. He also wanted us to talk about this. Kaspersky Labs says it found computers in 30 countries infected with spyware related to the Stuxnet virus. If you don't remember Stuxnet, that was the one that infected Iranian nuclear devices and caused them to malfunction. Not explode, but just like break. The programs were hidden in hard drive firmware across several brands. This new virus was hidden in hard drive firmware across several brands. Kaspersky researcher Kostin Rayo said the perpetrator would have had to have access to firmware source code, and they're calling the group responsible for the spyware the Equation Group. And essentially, it was almost undetectable. This was firmware that was hidden so deep in the firmware you would never know it was there.
So here's a theory for you. I heard Will Smith talking about this, not the actor, the tech dude, who said. Maybe the actor's talking about it too. I don't know, but he tends to get jiggy with it.
Hear him.
Yeah. He said, "Smell you later," and then danced off into nowhere. And I don't know what was going on with that. But anyway, so here's my question: does this open the door for a new level of security that we haven't been marketed from before? So right now, the security that you get for your computer, your virus protection, your whatever. This comes from third parties or first parties who run the OSs or whatever. It's Microsoft Essentials stuff, or you're getting Norton Antivirus or whoever, and you're running these things to protect yourself on that level. Will we start to see motherboard manufacturers, hard drive manufacturers, people at the hardware level starting to market the fact that our firmware contains Virus Kicker 4000 and will kill it at the BIOS level or things like that? Like that's because that to me feels like that's the next step, because if it's undetectable by me at the other level we currently have protection at, then I need the hardware people to kick it up a notch and be able to detect
two
that
things
stuff.
here. One is you're not the target.
Yeah, I guess not.
And these infections were actually fairly well targeted. There was a hidden code that got cracked earlier in the week that indicated that they did not want to infect hard drives of users that weren't registered at particular sites. In other words, they didn't want to spread this far and wide because that would make it more likely that it would get detected. They really wanted to go after very specific targets. So you and most of the people listening, maybe all the people listening, don't have to worry about being targets of this stuff. You may say, well, maybe I'm not the target. Maybe it gets to me anyway. Again, probably not. However, there also already is marketing being done about that kind of BIOS level, chip level, trusted platforms and security for the enterprise. And I imagine that I think we were already going to see more of that sort of thing. And this will only encourage that kind of product to be developed, to say like, hey, here's some, our firmware is now up to snuff and can prevent about this. And one of the big things here is it's not a particular brand that was infected, right? It wasn't like, oh, don't get Western Digital, no, Western Digital, Toshiba, Seagate, they found it on a variety of hard drive brands. So they're all kind of in the same boat.
Something you worry about, Brandon, at all? I know you were just messing with some external drives.
Yeah,
you're not the target, I guess,
sound
either.
Work on the side, and
Sure.
yeah, definitely. This past week, I've had to go through like three different hard drives, and I saw this little story, and the thought, in the back of your head is like, oh, I bet it's that virus. That's what's messing me up. It couldn't be that these hard drives are almost full to capacity. No, it's this virus.
Well, see, that's the trick. Tom's right, and once again, the voice of reason. That's what he does. He swoops in and reminds us all that everything's fine. Everyone, calm down. But there's still that little niggling thing in the back of your head that's going to say, did my drive just fail? Or, because you're going to have there's somebody's listening to the show right now, hearing about this, And statistically speaking, later tonight we'll have a hard drive failure. It will be easy for them to equate it.
Remember, hold on. This doesn't cause hard drives to fail. That would be that would subvert the whole purpose of this.
No, I agree. My point is, though, I think my point stands, though. There is a certain kind of cyber paranoia that swoops around these things because either you don't have enough information or the things are bandied about like this shouldn't affect you or you shouldn't be the target or any of those things. You're totally right about all that. I can just see why people might get a little paranoid about it.
You know, I got a cold. And it was around the time that this virus came out.
I know.
Maybe it infected me.
I was just thinking, I haven't had a cold since April of 2013. And I took someone's advice to never, or at least the best I can, try not to touch my face and always wash my hands. That was their advice. Is if you do that, you'll never get sick, even at cons or anything. And maybe they were right. I mean, look at that. What are we, 2 years on and no cold? So maybe I'm wrong.
This placebo effect, if nothing else.
Well, see, that's my point.
Washing your hands is long-standing good advice for preventing yourself from getting a cold.
Sure.
That makes sense.
And if you're shaking a bunch of hands, if you shake their hand and then go
touch your
rub
face,
your eye,
you're more likely to inhale something. Yeah,
sure,
it all makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my point of that is, I think I've got it all figured out. The truth is probably more complicated or more simple or something else.
Remind me to ask you to send me some of your blood serum. No particular reason.
Okay, no reason at all. You were just thinking of it.
Totally random thought
Got it.
I need.
So when people see you at Comic-Con, they should just grab your face immediately.
Yeah,
right?
just
Is
grab
that
my
what's going on?
face. Like palm my face like Michael Jordan grabs a basketball and just
There you go.
shove me into the dirt. Good idea.
Please don't do that, please. Not in the face. Duncan McIver pointed out Neil Blomkamp has reportedly struck a deal with 20th Century Fox to develop a script for a new Alien movie. Now, this would not be Prometheus 2. That's a separate film altogether. And in fact, it would take place later in the timeline after Prometheus 2. Still produced by the Ridley Scott Company, though.
So it's funny because he had been marked for this for a while and then on Twitter and other places had said, I guess I'm off the project. And I guess he's back on the project, and that's cool. I guess
He thinks he is, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the excitement about this will depend on how he does with his third major film, which is that cop robot movie called Chappie. Thank you. I hate the name,
Chappie wants to.
I hate the name too. It looks like an amazing movie, but that name is horrendous.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
The name. I don't know what to think of the name. Maybe there's a South African thing going on there that I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It does look interesting, and I really liked District 9. So that middle one, what was it called? Sepsis? What was it called?
Elysium.
Elysium. That's the
Yeah.
one. Nothing like sepsis, it turns out. That movie was not very great. It was okay, but it wasn't great. So I think the third time's the charm here. If he can really nail this Chappie thing, perhaps people will have great faith in what he can do with an alien movie.
I'm pretty excited about this. District 9 is amazing. I really hope he goes kind of back to those roots. Can you imagine like a security camera kind of feed of like an alien shadow creeping by? I mean, that's,
Oh yeah.
If that kind of elements, if he infuses those kind of elements into it, and that'd be great. Another positive thing, or what excites me about this, is that he himself is writing it, he's directing it. It's a passion project of his. Unlike Prometheus, which was written by Lindelof, he just kind of was just hired on to like, hey, write this script for us. Here's our ideas.
Finish it up. I mean,
exactly. And we all kind of know how that turned out. So hopefully, hopefully his passion will carry through.
In a Blomkamp movie about aliens, I can promise you that Charlize Theron would roll to the left or right to avoid that wheel. That I'm sure of.
And it would be such a brave choice for her.
Yeah, it would be, right? I mean, really forget about monster. It's all about alien. What would we call this? This would have to have a new name, wouldn't it? It's not Alien 5. We'd call it it's
Alien -1.
Yeah, it'll be Alien colon something. The colon, not
Rise,
the aliens colon.
Alien Begins.
Alien Begins. Is this prequel? It is, isn't it?
Well, I would assume so, yeah.
They haven't really specified. That's going to be the interesting thing about it. Does it fall between Prometheus 2 and the first Alien movie?
Yeah. And do you would avoid the incredible temptation to somehow cameo what's her name in there? Because it's
Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah, it's so hard not to. Like, you can't. they can't even do an Aliens, or excuse me, a Terminator movie without making sure somehow they wedge Arnie in there. Even the one that was like the most separated from him, the one with Christian Bale, they still had to put his face there at the end. Like they couldn't not do it. So I wonder if Sigourney Weaver, like no matter how hard they try, is somehow cameoed in this thing. And maybe that's fine. I don't know. That's kind of stunts drive me crazy.
It all takes place, it wrapped up by Sigourney Weaver telling the tale to her granddaughter.
That's a great idea.
I don't know if you guys probably don't read these, but there's actually Prometheus comic books.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Predators actually come into the world, and it's really, their comic books are obviously, I mean, they're way better than the movie was, but
that's cool.
That'd be interesting to see if they.
Yeah, they always, I mean, they're shared. It's a shared universe, which has always been kind of interesting. But whatever. If they can just bring back, like, what I think they need to do is bring back the scary, and not try to be the action movie. Get back some of that original Ridley Scott Alien
Birth
1 stuff.
Of Alien. Yeah. That's where they need to go with this, because it implies the bursting from the chest thing.
Yeah.
But it's also the origin story, and it could be like the first people who ever ran across it.
Sure. And also I could do a Tom Skerritt cameo. That'd be all right. Put him in there somehow. Old grandpa Tom Skerritt. He's still around.
Yeah.
He was in there. You could do him, or
that's the problem though. All the people from the first Alien are old now.
Very.
So it wouldn't make sense as a prequel.
Yeah, and if you want to blow people's minds, some people obviously know this. A lot of people don't though. The original android in Alien 1, who ended up with his head popped off and talking with the the white goo everywhere. He's Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings movie. Ian I can't think of his last name. Ian Holm.
Yeah.
That blows people's minds when you tell them that if they're not really paying attention. It's like that's Bilbo. Holy crap.
Yeah. There, but not back again.
Boy, he's not 2 feet tall. What?
That's pretty good. Well, anyway, we'll see.
All right. Thank you, CattyCon, for sending us this report. Cable channels like TBS and TNT are now speeding up syndicated programs like Seinfeld and Friends by as much as 7% in order to make room for ads. And yes, Snopes has verified this. It is actually happening. A Seinfeld episode that originally ran 25 minutes was 22 minutes or close to that after the process, letting the broadcaster fit in about 6 extra spots. Also getting the speedy treatment, classic films such as The Wizard of Oz and King Kong, because, as Turner companies know, nothing brings in viewers like messing with classics.
So did Snopes detail what's being taken out? I wonder. Like,
they're not taking anything out; they're just speeding it up.
So like the podcast apps that do just
exactly,
like incremental
which has been
speed.
Easier to do with audio for a long time without you noticing. Like, not obviously if you go 2x you notice, but like you could speed it up a little bit and not even notice. But with video, it was artifacty in the video, but they've figured out how to smooth that out now.
I don't know how I feel about that. In fact, I know how I feel about that. I don't like them messing with that at all.
What if you don't know?
Well,
I don't like it either, but for a show like Seinfeld, which you can't stream, right? It's not on any of the streaming networks.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
So then, I mean, that's kind of your only way to see it, which is maybe this is the direction syndication's kind of going into. Yeah, well, unless you buy the DVD.
That's a really good point, Brandon, because syndication is such a weird thing now, isn't it? Like
it feels like it's dying because of Netflix and Hulu. And
yeah, the syndication deal I would want to strike nowadays, and maybe that's what some of these shows did. Like before they forged the deal for new Arrested Development episodes in a new season, I wonder if the previous stuff, which has been on Netflix since day one, really, since the streaming service launched and has been there the entire time, I wonder if like that's a more lucrative deal for somebody who may control the property and say, well, all right, we have this choice of letting stations all over the country run this thing all the time, or Netflix will pay us more money all at once to just keep our series there in perpetuity. I wonder if that's more money. I don't know. Syndication's such a strange thing just in general. Like,
hold up, breaking news.
Uh-oh. Beep, 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 beep.
Seinfeld episode. Is it a full episode available on Crackle?
What? Oh, Crackle has a bunch of select episodes they have for a while.
Yeah, it's not all the episodes. That's the hitch.
And they switch it around. I want to say I saw the restaurant Cartwright one, and then a few weeks later that was gone, and there was something else there. And
but it is a full episode.
Yeah, and I think that's because
right now it's called Date Night with George is the collection, and they have 8 episodes about George going out on dates.
George's love life, yeah, and so it's themed. That's right, I remember this now.
Okay.
It's on the Crackle app, and they don't. I think Sony, who owns Crackle, is also the parent company that owns the Seinfeld rights.
That owns Seinfeld. No.
I think so. Yeah. So the fact that they're though kind of getting out of, well, they certainly did with their Music Unlimited service, but they seem to be getting out of the media part of what they're doing.
No, they're not.
Aren't they a little?
They just had their earnings call this week and said, we are focusing on 2 categories, the PlayStation and Sony Pictures Entertainment.
Oh, yeah, that won't work then, yeah.
Those are the things we're banking our future on, is entertainment. So it's actually almost the opposite.
Well, I guess
according to what Kazurai said earlier this week.
I guess what I'm saying is maybe not now, but maybe at some point they'll decide to play nice with somebody like Netflix, because currently, I mean, their options are so limited. Nobody cares about a Sony service, and they gave up their music service for that reason. You know
what they're going to do, and they're going to do a music streaming service. They got rid of the old one because it was crap. So I have a feeling they're going to start over. And I have a feeling we're also going to see some kind of Sony. Well, we are going to see the PlayStation View service come out of beta, which is a television service kind of like cable, except you watch it over a PlayStation over the internet. And I wouldn't bet against some kind of on-demand aspect of that being available.
Oh, and I'll bet you Seinfeld's on there.
Yeah. Or, select episodes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully more than that. We'll see.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I saw this YouTube video. We played it on Cord Killers on Monday, where they show the side-by-side comparisons. And on the one hand, I'm with you, Scott. It's horrible to be like, what? You're stealing minutes from me to force commercials down my throat. But at the same time, if I didn't know any better, I would not have been able to tell.
So it's real incremental. And if it's only shaving, 2 minutes, it looks like 3 minutes. Yeah. 22 after the 25
6 spots. So
3,
so like 3 minutes,
3 minutes total. If you do that stretched out over a full, basically half-hour thing, I guess it's fine.
I don't know if you've watched a American show converted to PAL for European broadcast, but that's 4% faster.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I noticed this so we did this thing for my show Film Sack, where we did a live viewing of something, and some of us watched it on Netflix, the exact same print of the film somebody else watched on DVD, and about halfway through the movie we realized we had grown to be about 5 to 6 minutes off of each other. And that's because something was running faster, and it's difficult to say what, because we were exactly synchronized at the beginning and nobody had any hitches or pauses. So yeah, maybe this is already happening in ways that are even just technical glitches that we can't control. But now that I know it's happening, like for me to watch a Seinfeld episode on a syndicated channel or something, I think I'd just kind of be a little, now I'm going to be all weirded out by it, thinking.
Well, to prevent buffering and stuttering, they probably do play around with the bit rate, as it plays back on Netflix, so that you get a nice smooth performance without really noticing.
And I suppose if it's not that noticeable, then maybe who cares? But you know how you want everything. It's like
it's one thing for Netflix to do it to make my experience better. It's another thing to know it's being done to shove more commercials at me.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm breaking on it. But anyway,
even though we all love trailers, which are commercials.
That's right.
Not all commercials are bad.
Yeah, not all.
One unfortunate thing about this is probably the technology designed to do this was actually designed for something useful to like incorporate like a piece of TV footage into film. But then, the suits probably got a hold of it. This is just me speculating, but the suits probably got a hold of it and we're like, ooh, new money-making opportunity here.
Somebody was listening to a podcast on double speed and went, wait a minute, I've got an idea.
What are you talking about?
Just because I know Tom does this.
Who would do that?
Yeah. I tried that today. I just want to let you know I tried that today with a show I always listen to, some NPR thing. Decided to do 15 minutes of it. It was a half-hour show. 15 minutes of it at not quite doubles, like a speed and a half, 1.5. Pretty listenable, right? And got to that point and then switched it back to normal, and it really does have this effect of creating kind of like everyone's high. Yeah, it is. It's a funky experience. Anyway,
Star Fury Zeta sent us the news that Batman vs. Superman director Zack Snyder tweeted an image of Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Momoa, best known as Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones, well, maybe to most people, although we all know him from Farscape and Stargate Atlantis. Anyway, he has a full beard, an armful of tattoos that look like scales, and is, of course, holding a badass trident. The poster features the words "Unite the Seven," which kicked off a fierce debate about whether that meant 7 seas, 7 kingdoms, 7 DC Comics superheroes, maybe.
It's got to be that last one you just said.
Yeah,
because it's all about getting a Justice League out of this. Has to be, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And frankly, as one of the only defenders of Aquaman, I was really happy to see this poster because he looks badass. Like this, I think, will change some people's idea of what an Aquaman movie will be.
It does. Here's the only problem. It continues the notion, and we all probably need to start getting over this, but this idea that everybody's so super serious over there at Warner Brothers and at DC that they can't have any fun or color in anything they do. This thing tends to be... In fact, I made a bad joke about the new Momoa poster. The Aquaman poster was 50 Shades of Grey, which is a real dumb joke. But the point is...
It's obviously like 47.
Yeah. They like this muted monochrome kind of thing happening. Even Superman or Man of Steel was a bit like that. And I don't know why they've gone that way. I feel like I need to get, this is just me personally, I feel like I need to get over that stuff. I need to get over my misgivings of Man of Steel and keep my eyes on the prize. And that prize being, we are going to one day get a proper Justice League film. And hopefully it's good. And I can't judge till we get it. But the idea is awesome. It's more awesome than Avengers in terms of what, like childhood what ifs. It's the ultimate what if in comics. So I'm prepared to toe the line, to do what's needed to be done, to be a real fan here and see this thing through. So I'm kind of all for it. Plus, Aquaman's kind of dumb, and he makes him look not dumb. So that's my only thing I'd say about that.
I still love Aquaman, but I totally agree with you.
I think this is going to be great. I love the look. I can't wait to see what the Lego figure is going to look like. And then you can make your own Khal Drogo figure using the...
Yeah.
They do all the DC stuff. They have that. Yeah, they've got a good license.
They do DC figs based on the comic books, and when a movie is coming out, they also do this with Marvel. They do figures that look like the movie figures.
Yeah. It's one other thing I'd say is interesting. They didn't give him the hook, because usually, like the super serious, more kind of badass version of Aquaman in the comics, his big distinguisher was a missing hand and then a hook in its place, big golden hook. They seem to have decided that wasn't the way to go.
Seems like that would be a hard sell.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it already looks like it's going to be really dark. Yeah. As compared to Avengers or even Captain America, which is somewhat dark for a Marvel movie. But I mean, having that element, I think it's going to be interesting to see, because we've seen Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, now Aquaman. Like, what is the Flash going to look like? What is Green Arrow or Green Lantern going to look like?
I'm Barry Allen. I'm the fastest man alive.
And then furthermore, like, what are the villains going to... I mean, the villains are going to have to look, I think, 10 times more badass than this to make the film kind of stand up and work. Plus
we're probably talking like Apocalypse, maybe Luthor, maybe both of them.
Luthor, yeah.
Like these movies, even Marvel can't seem to help themselves. No, none of these movies can help themselves and stop at just one villain. They all feel like they got to have like 3 in there. Deadshot would be good. Well, there's stuff they could do, man. I mean, that's
Brainiac, I'm sure will be.
Yeah, Brainiac could be awesome. A proper Mr. Freeze would be really good. Like there are some really great rogues gallery kind of things you could pull from. I'm just, I need to get over my thing.
I mean, don't even forget all the Batman has the best villains.
Oh yeah, by far. And you can integrate a lot of that stuff, and maybe some of these movies will tie all that in, and everyone will share stuff. Like they're doing that with Marvel for sure. With some of their intergalactic nemesis.
Insta correction time. First of all, I don't know why I said Farscape in relation to Jason Momoa, who has never been in Farscape. I obviously meant Baywatch.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
I don't know why I said Farscape. It was Stargate Atlantis only.
Yeah.
And then Ice Worm's saying Apocalypse is Marvel.
No. Oh no, you're right.
Yeah, Apocalypse is Marvel.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Darkseid's who I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Right. All I know is he's fun to play in the DC versus Mortal Kombat
So
game.
those of you who already stopped the podcast and sent us correcting emails, we have now answered you.
Yeah, sorry. Both of us. I feel like my goof was that's an understandable one. You get these villains mixed up. Baywatch and Farscape.
I don't know why I said Farscape. Well, I don't even know what I was thinking. I can't even explain that now. I'm like, why would I even say that?
Yeah, Game of Thrones, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously. I have Baywatch and Farscape right next to each other in my head for some reason.
And on your DVD rack, right?
And on my DVD.
Oh, yeah, you don't have one, right?
And TG Hooker. Okay, so look, we have like one of the greatest Lego guys in the world with us, and Lego unveiled 32 new sets of Star Wars vehicles and characters at New York City's Toy Fair. No, none of them were from The Force Awakens, but they were pretty damn cool looking. And that wasn't the only cool thing at the Toy Fair that was announced.
Yeah.
Brent.
I mean, there was a ton of, the amount of Lego sets they plan to release this year is, unfortunately for my wallet, astronomical. I mean, 32 sets, that's the most they've ever released since their initial launch in 1999, which I think was 28 sets. I could be mistaken.
Yeah.
But that included episode 1 and original trilogy. That was when they're really tried to do the push. But yeah, I mean, there's Avengers sets coming out for the movies. There's the Scooby-Doo line.
Are any of
Jurassic
these Star Wars ones throwbacks to any new Death Star things like that?
Yeah, they're doing a final duel set from Return of the Jedi, which they kind of really haven't done. They years ago, I mean years like 2001, they did 2 small sets where you had like Luke and Vader, and then you had the Emperor on his little throne, and you could kind of put them together, and then you could kind of make like a little scene. But the set they have now they're planning to release is actually like the whole nice throne room with the red guard, Imperial guards, and it looks great. It's supposed to have some playability, which whatever that is.
I don't know what that is. Is the exterior like the unfinished Death Star?
No, it's more like a scene. It's not really like a round. The only like big sets they kind of announced, they announced like one of the ships from, I think, episode 3. I can't remember the name of it, but they announced the UCS TIE Fighter, which people like myself have been kind of begging for about, I don't know, 10 years, because they released the UCS X-Wing, which is the very large X-Wing fighter, not the basic one, but the very large. I think it's about like 18 inches from the whole length of the ship. They released that like in 1999 or 2000 when the first line first released, and now they have, obviously everybody wanted to pair that with a TIE Fighter. Now it's finally coming out, and it looks great. And they also have the UCS Slave One, which just got released. I think you can actually get that now, and it's a beautiful set.
Yeah, that one sounds
They're
hot.
really stepping up their game. I gotta say, like there was a time where I remember the time like around 2004, 2005, it was just like you could buy every Star Wars set that came out that year for about $400.
Yeah, total.
And now it's like about $4,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. So I got another question for you that jumped to mind earlier. Is there anything in the Star Wars lineup that compares scale-wise to that helicarrier they're doing for Avengers? That was announced. I don't know how long ago that was announced. Not long ago, actually. But that,
that's actually what the UCS is a term for Ultimate Collector Series, which is kind of a models designed for more adult builders. So, yeah, the Slave One is close to almost the same size as that actual model built.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the helicarrier is probably a little bit longer, but it has about the same amount of pieces. I mean, the UCS, I saw a prototype of the Slave One ship at BrickCon back in October, which is a Lego convention that's held in Seattle, kind of like Comic-Con, but Comic-Con for Legos is pretty much what it is. And yeah, they don't, when they decide to do one of these sets, they don't cheap out. I mean, they're expensive. I mean, I think that set's like $300. The helicarrier is $350.
Yeah,
it's not cheap, but there's definitely a good selection of those larger sets out there right now.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some shots here, and man, this is all very tempting.
That's just it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money to invest, and and they just keep churning them out because it's the most popular toy in the world right now, and it's insane.
Well, as somebody who's dealing with this stuff all the time, and obviously an avid fan and builder. What is it about these things, do you think, anyway? This has always fascinated me because I'm kind of a guy. I like Legos a lot. I was kind of a give me a bucket and I'll make my own things when I was a kid kind of Lego guy. Never much for the sets so much, but $350 for something like this versus say a $350 Slave One replica that's just a straight up replica around the same size. Not that anyone's making that, but let's assume they were.
Like a Gentle Giant or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. What is the draw? Because the truth is you're going to build it, so there's the draw of, well, I get to build it, and that's great, and you've accomplished it. But chances are you're never going to tear it apart. You're going to let that thing stand and be basically a trophy of this thing you built for a long time. Is it just that factor of I can build it versus...
I think it's a little bit of that factor. I also think part of it too is what draws a lot of people in when they see something like that is they're seeing a toy from their childhood, a piece of nostalgia that's being like resurrected while they're an adult. And then you take that and you combine it with Star Wars, which for people, our age, that's like a piece of nostalgia from our childhood. And you marry those two together. I mean, I think all that mixed in that pot together and you have that set and you're like, oh, I could build this, it's Lego. You remember the joy of playing with Lego as a kid if you did, and then you remember the joys of Star Wars. I think it just all kind of combines together and really creates that urge to purchase that thing. At least that's what initially drove me into it. When in 1999 I hadn't I was a senior in high school and I hadn't picked up a Lego set since I was probably 9 years old, and I saw the Star Wars Lego sets and I just bought them all. And that, started the evolution of me getting into building my own creations and then thus creating Lego art. And that's where, I am today with it.
It's funny because it seems like Star Wars and Lego are now unequivocally connected. It isn't just so much that, oh yeah, they got the license and that's great. I feel like the interest sometimes spawned from the other, Well,
it literally saved the company. And I think in like 2001 or 2002, Lego was almost bankrupt. And the Lego license was like the one line that was actually selling, and it actually like kept the company going until
the Star Wars line.
The Star Wars line until it built up momentum and they were able to pick up more licenses. And now it seems like they're licensing everything they can get their hands on.
They're like,
I know 99 was the bellwether for this stuff, but I could have sworn there was some Star Wars like sets in the 80s. And I even argued with my brother-in-law about this. He's like, I don't think so.
If they were not Lego, or official Lego brand. They may have been an off brand, but I don't recall seeing any.
I tend to equate like the big, like the Millennium Falcon toy, like the big one. I in my head, I have that connected to Lego, even though I know it's not. Like that was a big Kenner thing, and they're hard to get, and it had all the same collectability, and all those things are true. But for some reason, I think I've overlaid Lego on top of even those times, and that's why I get them confused. Because I'm with Tom. I feel like I remember seeing them, playing with them, wanting to buy them.
Maybe it was just that we were making them.
Maybe that might have been. It might have been.
You walk through a fan convention, like Comic-Con or something, a WonderCon, and you know 5 years ago it was just people just sold like Star Wars action figures. Now they're selling like half Star Wars action figures and half Lego sets, because of all the different licenses. It does seem to kind of all melding together into one big pool in a sense.
Before we move on to the Sarlacc pit question, I got one last question about.
Sure.
Do you think?
I like that subtle tease you just gave everybody who doesn't see our rundown.
Yeah. Hey, Sarlacc pit, everyone. Stay tuned for that. The Force Awakens, not here yet, obviously. How does it normally work with Lego when you've got kind of a big secret-y kind of movie like that, where nobody, a lot of the spoilers are being under wraps and it's not super exposed yet, even though, Lego's often accused of, revealing Ultron before anyone else has seen a trailer, or, these kinds of things. The Hulkbuster armor, I think, showed up first in some leaked pictures before we saw the trailer and that kind of thing. Do you suppose we'll get some of that with Lego beforehand? Do you think we're going to get the movie and then the Lego stuff follows?
Unfortunately, Lego is notoriously bad for securing their pictures or product pictures. It's either that or it's an incredibly brilliant viral marketing scheme, because they for some reason, every new set that comes out always seems to get leaked. A picture of it always seems to get leaked before an official announcement is made. Even the helicarrier, like there was like a picture of half of the helicarrier that got leaked out right before, obviously, the helicarrier got released. I think, well, I did hear a story once from one of the designers, and I'm not going to name him, but he was saying that when they were designing the very first Hobbit sets, that they didn't get pictures, they got descriptions to begin with of what the characters looked like. And then slowly they would get like a picture of a hat or a picture of somebody's beard. And and if you look at some of the first Hobbit sets that come out, I can't remember the character's name in the film. There's the kind of the bad guy that's got
the white orc, pale orc, or whatever,
Ozog or something like that. But he looks nothing like he looks like in the movie, just for that simple fact that Warner Brothers was so tight on controlling the information flow to them because they didn't want pictures of the movie getting leaked, obviously. And so that kind of trickled down and had like a somewhat adverse negative effect on those sets. Whether or not they're doing that with Lego, who knows? But sorry, with Star Wars, who knows? But it wouldn't surprise me, and I honestly would not be surprised if we get a Qui-Gon Jinn's funeral music, from the soundtrack spoiler from a Lego set right before the movie comes out.
Well, it's interesting. Ooh, Tom, what about this next one, though? I'm kind of freaked out about this.
Yeah, I was curious if you had thoughts on this diorama that was on IO9 just this afternoon. In fact, I was putting together the Current Geek lineup, and this came through my feeds. It's a diorama made by Dan Steffler, which tells how Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit by crawling through a tube being used by Jawa moonshine makers. This is all told in Lego, by the way.
This is brilliant. I wish I would have thought of it, honestly. I mean, it's like, well, first of all, I'll critique the way it's built and the way it's designed. It's lovely. Like, I love how it stacks up.
It's beautiful.
It's like beautifully designed from every angle. Like you rotate it, 90 degrees. It looks good. There's no like back to it, which is one thing that kind of drives me nuts about some things some people do, even myself. Like, I gotta clean up the back. Nobody's gonna ever look at the back, but this guy, I don't know who this person is, but it looks great. And love the fact that he created his own original story and kind of built that in there. That's great.
It's amazing. It's really fun to look at.
I turned it into a one-liner, but he's got an entire like
essay
about
Yeah. And I love the detail. Like there's this detail of like a bantha skeleton buried in the sand, or dewback, skeleton in the sand, and just the whole brewery itself with the beds and like the Jawa cape hanging up on the coat rack. It's great. I built
helmet just sitting over there on a barrel.
Yeah. It's lovely. I love doing stuff like that. Not really for like my kind of art, purposes, but just kind of playing around. Like I did a series of vignettes from Blazing Saddles once. Me and Aileen actually.
Oh yeah.
From Toy Break. We did it for this convention up in Northern California once, and it was just so much fun, just like, because that's like playing to me. That's the playing aspect. That's like we said earlier, of the nostalgia that kind of comes out, and you just get to play, and then you're not really super serious about how does this look, how does this feel artistic, and all that kind of pretentious stuff. You're just kind of having fun with it, and that's what it looks like this guy did. He just had fun with this, and it turned out amazing.
Well, there's one way we like to have fun, and that's with the pop quiz.
America scores and wins.
Okay. This is a little game we play. We have our guests, or guest in this case, answer some trivia questions. You'll never guess what your trivia category is today. It happens to be Lego, is it? Yeah, Mega Blocks. Duplo trivia. That's a good idea. If you get an answer correctly, you'll hear that. If you get it wrong, you'll hear that. Tom will score the whole thing. Sometimes he goes up and down based on other factors I can't control. Are you ready for your quiz?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Here we go. There it is in the background. Here it is. Lego trivia. First question. Lego's name is made of the first two letters of a Danish phrase, leg godt. What is the translation of this phrase? And it's spelled Leg space Godt.
Play well.
You are correct. Nicely done. Man, already nailing it. I would not have known that. Next up, what year was the Lego brick first patented?
Ooh, 1958.
You are correct. Oh man, he's gonna. Tom, I have a feeling we may have an ace on our hands here. We haven't had that before, I don't think.
He has not run afoul of any rules yet.
No, yet. Yet's important. All right, let's see. Within 100 pieces, above or below, how many pieces are in the Lego Star Wars Super Star Destroyer set?
I'm going to say, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to say 1,700.
You are incorrect. 3,152. That's a lot, dude.
That is a lot.
Ugh.
Yeah, I've built that set before, too.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Oh, I was going to let you pass until you admitted that night was a quarter point. Should have been counting while you built it. I'm sorry.
Should have counted every piece. All right, when was the first Lego Mindstorm set released?
2002.
1998 is the proper answer.
Oh, that's right.
1998.
Because it had that weird yellow one first.
Oh, that's right. I remember that one. What was the first Lego Batman set released, or when was it? I guess what was it? What was the name?
It was the
Vicky Vale.
I'm gonna say
Vicky Vale set.
I'm gonna say a Batmobile of some sort.
Well, let's find out. Nope, it's the Batman Dragster: Catwoman Pursuit.
That's yeah.
Catwoman
That was a good one.
Pursuit. All right, here's the next question. What year did Lego partner with McDonald's to offer 2 small Lego sets with their Happy Meals?
I remember getting those sets. So it was, I want to say 92.
You are incorrect. It was 1986.
No, I actually, he gets a quarter point, though, because he did, in fact, want to say 1992, even though it was the incorrect answer.
One of these days, people are going to figure out your tricks, and they're going to own this test. Second to last question. How many bricks high is a standard Lego minifig? So if you stacked, standard bricks together, how many bricks would that be?
God.
And I'll tell you, it's without the hat. So if you don't count any kind of hat, this is how many high.
I want to say it's between 3 or 4. I'm going to say 4.
You are correct. Nicely done. 4 is the correct answer. I would have never known that. Final question. Lego was awarded Toy of the Century by what magazine? That's a prestigious thing, by the way. Jeez.
Yeah, I have the New Yorker. I have no idea.
It was Fortune magazine.
Fortune makes more sense.
You get a half point off for just really random guess.
Yeah. I liked it. It's like, it would have to have been 17,000 word essay on why it was Toy of the Century.
Would that be the Journal of Foreign Policy?
There would have been a snarky cartoon included.
The Economist.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nicely done. I think you did really well, but Tom's the final judge here. Tom, how do you do?
All right, I'm tabulating through the results now, and it looks like a final score of 2.5.
Not bad. Wait, really? Is that how
Yep.
that's okay? There you go. Look at that, everybody. Congratulations. You are today's big winner, which leads us right into forecast.
The future promises even more startling things to come.
Forecast used to be a show. Now it's a segment. A lot of people missed that show. That's why I made it a segment, so you wouldn't have to miss it anymore.
Stop reminding them that they missed it. It just makes them sadder.
I know. It's terrible. I
And
should
they
stop
keep
doing that.
emailing me and blaming me for.
I get that too sometimes. Our regular email gets those all the time. Anyway, I put today's in because I've been thinking about this and I believe it. Actually, this is one I believe. This isn't me just going pie in the sky. We will one day, I think in the next 20 years or less, have fully AI-based pets. This could be cats, could be dogs, ferrets, whatever your pet of choice is, birds, parakeets, macaws, whatever. And it'll never poop, never eat, never do anything you don't want to program it to. I guess if you want to program that thing to poop, you could. But otherwise, it would behave like a real animal in every way. It would fetch, it would nuzzle up next to you, it would fall asleep at your feet.
A real pet.
Yeah,
Like, it's not a virtual pet.
No, yeah, it would be an actual furry. Let's say the case of a dog. It'd be a furry, real pet who would come to its name, be excited when you came home, play catch with you, wet, cold nose, all that stuff. Just in the form of an AI. It'd be it's a robot, artificial creation.
And then when I go down to Sawtell to get noodles and I have my dog with me, some old guy with glasses on will come out and go, "You Irish setter? I make your eyes."
Wow.
Will I be able to get an AI bear?
Sure. Why
As a
not?
pet?
That will be one of the
Life-size
advantages.
bear.
They'll be more expensive. But
Right, because you'll be able to take out the aggressive circuit or whatever, and
Yeah.
you could have a big white tiger, kind of Vegas style tiger.
not worry about getting slashed in half.
Yep. No, none of those things. That would be the advantage. I mean, a gator in the backyard, whatever. And the trick, and it will get so good that you will not be able to tell, at least at first glance, the difference. So people would not know the difference, which I understand would make for a tough transition. Showing up at a mall with a bear behind you is a frightening idea.
Oh, it's AI. It's okay.
Yeah. And you'd have to, some people may not be convinced, whatever. There'll be a passing away generation, perhaps our generation, that'll be like,
Now,
I don't
this
hold with
brings-
it. Go
This
ahead.
brings us back to a Philip K. Dick related question. The whole plot of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was alluded to in Blade Runner, the movie made based on that book, but not as foremost, was that if you couldn't afford a live animal, you were lesser of a person. It was a status symbol to not have to get an electric animal. Do you think that would be the case where people with live animals will become this elite and the rest of us with the AI animals will be like, oh, that's all I can get?
Probably for a time. I actually think it'll go the other way, though. Well, this is hard to say, but I think there'll
Do
be
androids dream of electric ocelots? That's what I meant.
because regular animals and mutts and stuff, they'll be a dime a dozen at this point, but you're going to spend $1,000 on your pet or more.
Or will it be the opposite, where it's like, what, you didn't adopt a real animal?
Yeah.
You spent money on an AI? It'd be like worse than buying from a breeder, right?
Yeah, there'll be some of that. Then there's also the problem of, well, what are you doing with all the existing domesticated animals? They're all going to just breed and fill the streets and
Exactly.
have big thug gangs full of cats, tabby cats or whatever. Brandon, what do you think of this?
Thug gangs of tabby.
Well, I'm wondering about the following generation that after this is released of like kids and stuff who see like a bear in the woods and think, oh, it's a machine. It's not going to hurt me. And then the bear,
It's just like the one I grew up with.
yeah.
So the bear concession and the big animal concession, I probably is further out. Like if they may have to become extinct first or something. But in the case of like a small house cat or small pug for the house or something, I could totally see these happening. And the idea that you could be, it sounds a little vacuous and a little unfeeling, but somebody who just craves the things that pets provide them now without the mess, without them getting sick, without the vet visits, without them getting old and getting tumors and having to be put down, all that stuff goes away. I think there'll be a market for it. As emotionally vacant as that may sound, it's the first step into accepting AI as a normal thing, eventually maybe even people. I think it begins with the pets we have. And I'm sticking to it till the day I die.
And then the debate will be, are you allowed to cut it off? Is that the moral thing to do?
Right.
man.
What do you do with it?
If it's bothering you.
Yeah, and yes, see so then all the moral questions come in.
Right.
How alive is it? Is it
Yeah.
because it can sniff and nuzzle you and bark, be happy when you're home? I mean, these are all real behaviors. So, at what point do we start giving them rights that we couldn't before? And then,
Yeah, is the lifespan artificially shortened?
yeah, you know what got me
Just
thinking about
like
this?
Roy Batty in Blade Runner.
Philip K. Dick is rolling in his grave, not out of discomfort, but he's happy with you today for all these
Probably
references.
uncomfortable too because he's dead.
That as well. It's just an interesting idea. The thing that popped it into my head was these videos of that MIT robot getting kicked and how it would like recover itself. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's just that big
No,
bipedal.
they did that with Big Dog years ago. So when they did it again, I don't know why it shocked people, but I think because the robot is even more realistic. Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's it, and it really did recover in a way that felt like an animal who was trying to just be stoic. Like, yes, I have been kicked again, but I will be here yet another day and carry the flag for my people. There's something
I will
about
rise
that.
above this kick.
And I see that, and there is something that triggers in me that goes, oh, that's so mean, even though I know, part of me knows that thing's just a freaking robot. So we're getting there, man, and there are moral questions to be answered, but in the meantime, I want a cat that doesn't have to poo in a box. That's really all I'm getting to here.
Or an ocelot.
Yeah, there you go. We also have some feedback today. And it comes in the form of an email. You can send those, by the way, to currentgeek@gmail.com. We have a phone number if you want to leave a message, and we'll play it on the show, 801-471-0462. That's 801-471-0462. Or you can send us attachments. Those are fine as well. This one came to us from Derek P. He says, if our generation, this is good because today's topic, if our generation, he says I'm in my early 40s, cultural touchstone is Star Wars, what is that for a generation of kids today? Hard question, right? He asks. Thanks, Derek. So, Brandon, what
Marvel.
is
Marvel
it?
films.
You think it's Marvel?
That's what I think it is.
Oh, that's a fantastic answer. I was wondering about that. Do you think it has the same impact and staying power and everything else, considering it was around before these kids were around? That's just now they have such an awesome cinematic version of it that's enough to make it this, a permanent part of
time will tell. I mean, if you would have asked me this in 2004, I would have said Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
But, just because the movies are out. But I think so. I think, there is just Marvel stuff everywhere, and it is not going away. I mean, I say Marvel, but all superhero films. I think Marvel obviously is the forerunner. But, I think I don't know if it will have the same impact on kids today that Star Wars had on us. Because I feel like Star Wars on us, the pool was less diluted, right? It was like Star Wars, Star Trek, a few other little things here and there.
Yeah.
So it was like that was the big boat in the small pond. Now the pond, it's an ocean full of boats. So
that's a good point. And in my mind, I think, well, it has to be original. Like Star Wars is original when it came out, so therefore it had
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
For the kids in college today, it was definitely Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's always going to be there are people in college today who Harry Potter had such a huge impact on that will be the directors of the future, the writers, the creators of the future, and they're definitely going to draw on that. They have to.
They grew up playing Quidditch and pretending to be Hermione or Harry or Ron.
Yeah, that's possible. The Marvel thing seems possible to me, although it's funny.
Marvel for the more recent, for the kids now. I think Harry Potter's the kind of the generation before that.
I feel like in a lot of ways, other forms of entertainment will inform these guys.
Yeah,
weird,
cutie, right?
Yeah, like weird video game things, Minecraft things. Yeah, strange short animated films on YouTube. The internet itself. I don't know. It's like it's such a weird time. It's very hard to predict, actually, and maybe every generation says that about the kids as they're coming in, and we can't really tell, but. I feel like this is a very hard one to define given just the breadth of, well, like you said, the ocean of media that they have to choose from. What is the cultural touchstone anymore? It's so much more diverse that a touchstone is now so much more individual than it used to be. For us, it was like this one thing. You couldn't deny Star Wars and its impact. It was undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
But now you could say, I'm not really a Marvel guy. I really like Minecraft, or I like World of Warcraft.
We could say that. It's hard. You have to realize, it's hard to remember that you're not a child.
Yeah.
Right? Like Star Wars was considered to be fluff and crap by adults in 1977. Like nobody looked at it and said, this is a cultural touchstone in the making.
They said it's floth.
Yeah.
I think as it relates to Lego, like Star Wars, how Star Wars brought me into buying Lego and buying it, getting into the hobby and building Lego professionally. I think the new superheroes lines and all the Marvel and DC sets that are being produced is having the same effect on a lot of people today. I mean, I think that is becoming just as important as the Star Wars line for Lego. And who knows, in maybe 5 years or so, it'll surpass.
Do you think for children, I mean like, up to age 10, Iron Man is bigger than Superman?
I would say currently, yes.
Yeah, it's hard to deny that because if you're 8 years old, you're not given a proper Superman. You've been given a really awesome, more than proper Iron Man that didn't exist before. He was such a B tier back in the day.
Yeah, how strange is that, right?
Yeah, it's really that kind of stuff.
So even
really
though
funky.
it's not original, like it was created out of nothing, it was brought to a much higher level than it was.
Yeah, and that's on DC and Warner Brothers to fix. I mean, it's their fault. I mean, that last Captain America movie I've said it before, I'll say it again. It was a better Superman movie than Superman was. and they seem to have that right. So yeah, you've got kids who have fallen in love with these B tier characters nobody gave two poops about back in the day, and the big ones, the important ones, except for Batman maybe, aren't being overlooked. So yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing. But to your Lego points, and I'm glad you were here to even say this because you come from a point of view of an expert in the field. It seems like maybe this is a generation of makers and creators more than before. They're Minecrafters, and that's not just a video game. That's a place to build something. They're going to have 3D printers as a normal thing in their homes. They're going to experience that kind of screen to physical thing more than any other generation. So maybe their cultural touchstone will have nothing to do with narrative, predetermined anything. It will be their own narrative, their own created.
And we'll be the old men on the porch saying, "Why don't you go inside and sit down and watch something? Stop wasting all your time making things."
Exactly.
Back in my day, I had to order it and it had to be delivered to me. I couldn't print it off.
Yeah, you guys
get to build it.
Yeah, there was Amazon's long shutdown. They couldn't keep up with all the homemaking printers. Amazing. Homemakers will be a whole different term. It won't even mean what it used to mean. Back in my day, homemakers
who actually
were
build houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or the replicator from Star Trek. That's the next step, right?
Yep, we're heading there, man. If I don't get oatmeal out of a machine soon, I'm checking out. Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Oatmeal hot.
Awesome email, Derek. Please keep those kind of things coming, people. CurrentGeek@gmail.com.
Yeah,
it was great. And we love riffing on that sort of thing. So please keep that coming. It's going to do it for us. Brandon, we shall not leave until we have had a chance to talk about where we can find more of your fine work, because I know we have listeners who are way into what you're into. Where can they find more Brandon Griffith?
Well, you can check out my Lego work at flickr.com/Brandon Griffith. And I also produce a non-sports card collector series called Studs, which you can find at brickstuds.com. And that basically is a non-sports card series that showcases people like me, other builders around the world that kind of do what I do. And you can, on the front of the card is a picture of what they build, and on the back is a little bit about them. And you can Series 1's on sale now at brickstuds.com, and we're hoping to get Series 2 going on Kickstarter probably end of March.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's IC Getaway on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah, at IC Getaway.
Yeah. So follow him. His avatar features him making the coolest con face I've ever seen in my life. That's good stuff. And yeah, he's a dude to follow. Thanks for being on, dude. You were awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Anytime. This is great.
Yeah, really good time. Tom Merritt, anything else in your world we should talk about?
People should watch or listen to the Daily Tech News Show if they would like tech news daily in a show.
That seems like a good name for it, too, since it's very descriptive of what you're actually getting.
That's what it says in the tin.
Lots happening in and around the Frog Pants Network. If you want to attend this year's Nerdtacular festivities, which is our little community get-together and con of our own, you can sign up for tickets this coming Wednesday, the 25th. Tickets are available for this year's con, which is the end of July. All the dates and information are at the brand new website at nerdtacular.com. You'll find pictures of me and Tom and many other Frog Pants people that will be there, including one Chris Metzen from Blizzard Entertainment, which I cannot talk about enough.
Just one?
Yeah, just one of him. And his wife, who is amazing. Kat is coming as well, so that'll be good. It's all very exciting. Go check that out if you would. That'd be great. In the meantime, CurrentGeek.com is our website. All our contact details are there. Current Geek on Twitter. Ace Detect and Scott Johnson for Tom and I. It's going to do it for us, for me, for Tom, and for Brandon. We'll see you next time. And scene. Way to go, Brandon. You were awesome, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys, for having me. I really
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
that was great.
I mean, not that we didn't think you would be. Of course we did. But
no, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, man.
That was really good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening live. And we'll all talk soon, I assume.
Sounds
Bye now.
good.
Ciao. Oh. Let's turn that off. Hi. All right, I'll be right up. Oh, I got to turn all this off. All right, you guys. Thanks for being here and listening.